We are not rare. But before you leave, you will perceive the lore will be unlocked. You might be stalked by a Sasquatch or a ghost witch, possibly even a ghost that will boast about knowing the Ohio Grassman or even the Michigan Dogman. Werewolves hunt, poltergeists are up front, but in these backwoods folklore is unlocked.
Welcome to Folklore Unlocked. I'm Austin, and like always, I'm joined by Ethan.
Yep, hello again, everyone.
And this week we are taking a look at the Villisca Axe Murders. And some background, it happened between the night of June 9th and the early morning of June 10th, 1912, in Villisca, Iowa. And the victims were the 6 members of the Moore family and 2 guests.
So, the list of the victims is Josiah B. Moore, 43, Sarah Nee Montgomery Moore, 39, Herman Montgomery Moore, 11, Mary Catherine Moore, 10, Arthur Boyd Moore, 7, Paul Vernon Moore, 5, and then the guests were Lena Gertrude Stingler, 11, and then Ina Mae Stingler, 8.
And the day of June 9th, 1912, Mary Moore invited the Stillinger sisters over to spend the night, and the Stillinger sisters came over, and then the Moores and them attended the local Presbyterian church in Villisca and participated in the Children's Day program, which Sarah, the mother, had helped set up. And that lasted until around 9:30 p.m. And the Moores and the Stillinger sisters walked back to the Moores' house and arrived sometime between 9:45 and 10 p.m.
Then, the next day on June 10th of 1912, Mary Peckham noticed that the Moores weren't around doing their morning chores at 7 a.m. like they usually are. So, they went and knocked on the door, and when no one answered, they found it was still locked. So, they let out their chickens, called Josiah's brother Ross Moore, and then Ross went ahead and unlocked the door when he arrived. And when they entered the house, they found that the Stillinger sisters' bodies were in the guest room, and told Peckham to call Henry or Hank Horton, the primary peace officer.
And the initial investigation of Horton determined that all 8 victims had been bludgeoned to death by an axe that was found still in the guest room with the Stillinger sisters.
So, here is the doctor's report and some extra information. So, the doctors reported that the deaths had happened between midnight and 5 a.m., and there were 2 used cigarettes in the attic, pointing to the killers that had waited inside the house, possibly. And there were tours that went through the house saying that there were no cigarettes until the victims had gone to sleep.
And the timeline of the attack, it started with Josiah and Sarah striking Josiah the most and using the bladed side on Sarah only. And the gouge mark was found on the ceiling from where the attacker had apparently raised the axe to bring it down. And then Herman, Mary, Arthur, and Paul were attacked next. And then the killers went back and attacked the parents again, knocking over a shoe that had been filled with, you guessed it, blood. And then went to the guest room and killed Lena and Ina. And yeah, you can guess what happened next.
Now, the aftermath, I found this a little weird, but apparently they found a 4-pound slab of bacon was put by the axe, and they also found some untouched food and bloody water on the kitchen table during the search. And it's believed that all the victims had been asleep when they were attacked, except for Lena, who was found lying crosswise on the bed with some defensive wounds on her arm. And then every mirror in the house had also been covered.
And I think the mirrors being covered might show a sense of remorse.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of feeling from that. And I don't really know for sure about the slab of bacon. I don't know for sure if that would possibly been put there by the family before the murders, or if the murderers had put out the bacon, which I don't know for sure.
Yeah, the bacon kind of throws me for a knee buckling curve here.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to get into some suspects, with the first suspect being Andrew Sawyer, who was a transient who was interviewed but not charged with anything related to the murders. And he seemed obsessed with the case, and he slept completely clothed with an axe by his bedside, which is suspicious that one would sleep completely clothed with shoes on and an axe by his bedside.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are some people that do sleep in clothes, but if it was with shoes on too, that is really suspicious. And plus, with the axe being like, oh, the murderer used an axe at this one, is very suspicious.
Very, very suspicious.
Then we have Reverend George Kelly, who is an English traveling minister. He was described as strange and was accused of peeping. He taught at the Children's Day service, and then he left town between 5 and 5:50 a.m. And also, he confessed to the murderers, but it wasn't even believed.
Yeah, this just seems like he was more of a creep than anything.
Yeah.
And then we're on to who many believe is the most likely perpetrator, and Henry Lee Moore, who has no familial ties to the Moore family that were sadly killed in this event. And he was a suspected serial killer, but he was only ever convicted of killing his mother and grandmother months after the Villisca case happened, and both cases had similarities, like the use of an axe being the primary weapon in both.
Then there's also Frank F. Jones. Jones was a Villisca native and a state senator, and Josiah had worked for Jones before opening his own shop, and was rumored to have had an affair with Jones' daughter-in-law, though no evidence exists.
And this is kind of like a subsection of Frank Jones here, and William Mansfield, who was an ex-convict and former U.S. Army soldier who was possibly hired by Jones to take care of Josiah. And similar murders that might have been connected to Mansfield had happened in Colorado Springs, Colorado, Ellsworth, Kansas, and Paula, Kansas.
Yeah, I guess if you believe the last thing, let me see, it was Frank F. Jones. If you believe that he's possibly sleeping with his daughter-in-law, then I guess this one possibly could be true too.
Kind of like a hitman situation.
Yeah. And then we have a picture here of the house today, And the house is open for tours and is reportedly haunted due to the events. And you can see here that there's even a sign that says the Villisca Axe Murderer House.
Which is kind of creepy in its own sense that they've got a sign saying, "Hey, this is the house. Come take a tour," where 8 people were brutally murdered.
Well, yeah, it's weird. Because I know there's a lot of people that like to go see stuff like that. Which, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be against it. But so we're a place where people have been murdered and stuff like that, and also possibly could be haunted. I know it would pull in a lot of people.
Yeah. And then on to our thoughts. I think that Henry Lee Moore is probably the most likely suspect. But since due to lack of evidence, I'm not sure if he actually did do it. Since there's not really no evidence saying he did do it, but there's also no evidence saying he did not do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's most likely that Henry Lee Moore probably did do it. Like we said, don't really know. There wasn't really any evidence for it. But since he was a suspected serial killer, and he also killed his mother and grandmother with an axe, like this case, and the other similarities between the cases, I think there's a pretty high likelihood that it could have been him.
Yeah, and it's just weird that they share the same last name and everything. That just seems very coincidental if he did do it.
You just blew my mind. I didn't even notice. You said that, and I'm like, wait a second. Oh.
And I think that's all we've got for this week. Next week, we are going to take a look at the Watcher House. Any last words, Ethan?
Just thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, leave us a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're on Spotify, drop us a follow and a comment. And we'll see you next week.
You might wake up beside Spearfinger with an extended visit from Jack the Ripper. But if you're lucky, it'll be an angel on that range hill of Louisiana. You might meet Mary Laveau or the Rougarou. At Folklore Unlocked, Austin and Ethan concoct their theory of the eerie and unexplained around the world, sometimes even the underworld. The lore is locked behind secrets, the folklore is meant to be unlocked. The Sokoloo is haunting NC as well as Tennessee. There are many giants that might be clients of the Dark Watchers, who might have psychokinesis. And the phantom time hypothesis is like the phoenix, coming back around again and again. Though there's a strain on your brain if you've got more than 2 brain cells in you. Some believe McCartney is dead because they read into the Mandela effect, which is subject